June of '08, a guy named Jim, I was buying a property, and he said, "Hey, you should get your insurance license." I said, "Why would I do that? Like, I don't want an insurance license. I have a real estate license." And he said, "Well, it'd be a great way for you to make extra money." And to be really honest with you, Eric, I was just trying to appease him because I was buying a house from him. So I wanted him to be happy. So I was really like, you know what? If I get the license and he sells me the house, it was a great house, great opportunity for family. I'm like, I'll buy the house. So I got in the course that night and I was like, this is pretty easy. So I finished that quickly. In about 2 weeks, I had my insurance license. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, but I have it. Like, it's not going to hurt me. So I said to him, I said, who do you guys actually call anyway? Because real estate, I never had leads. It was all sphere of influence, who I knew. And he handed me a stack of leads. Like, he's like, here's a bunch of people. So I started calling them. And they'd answer. I'd be like, hey, Eric. Yeah, Eric, Shawn. I'm like, where do we say we're from? He's like, he told me I said that. I mean, no idea what I was doing. I was like, hey, you filled this thing out, bro. I need to come meet with you. And you'd be like, well, I'm like, Eric, you filled it out, dude. I just got to get the information. And I started booking appointments. He's like, how'd you know how to do that? I said, they filled it out. What do you mean? What do I just call people and tell them what I'm going to do? I go to people's houses now that don't even want me there at the state of Connecticut. This is easy.
Hey guys, I wanted to take a moment to personally invite you to join me March 2024 right here in beautiful Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm going to be speaking at the Conscious Investor Growth Summit. It is going to be an awesome event, and I have the honor of speaking alongside over 20 speakers on health, wealth, and mindset. This event is surely going to be pivotal for not only your year, but also your life. It would mean the world to me to connect with you, so make sure that you grab your ticket today at consciousinvestorgrowthsummit.com. And if you use my name, ERIK, you're going to get 50% off at checkout. I hope to see you there. Keep changing the world. Shawn, you're the founder and president of Family First Life. You're an author, keynote speaker. You're the host of Punch Me in the Face podcast. So much more, man. Thank you for your time, dude. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, brother.
I like to kick things off by going back a bit. Like, where did you grow up? What was childhood like for you?
I grew up in Connecticut, raised by my mom. My mom and dad split when I was about 6.
Okay.
And so it was a very interesting childhood. I have a little brother, a couple years younger than me. My mother worked 3 jobs. My mom worked really, really, really hard. And I think probably at about 10 or 11, watching my mom work so hard, also it was a different time. So women weren't treated by their employer. My mom just ran around like a chicken with her head cut off, did what everybody asked her to do. Had a lot of real tough times growing up financially. And I realized that I love my mom, love a lot of people in my family, but I wanted to do it differently. So I got to be, I was getting ready to graduate high school at 17. I have been sober now 23 years. So
come on, man.
I was in love with cocaine. I loved smoking it more than I loved sniffing it. I loved mushrooms. I loved dropping acid. I liked drinking more than everything. And I was a disaster. So in my young years, I spent a lot of that time abusing substances that just made me, I don't know, help me cope. And I actually enjoyed it immensely, to be honest with you. When I graduated high school, I said to my mom, I said, hey, I'm going to join the Marines. And my mom said, no, you're not. And I went and took my ASVABs at the Connecticut Armory. And then I'm like, all right, cool. But you got to get your mom's signature. You're 17 years old. I was like, all right, cool. My mom will sign it. And my mom was like, no, you're going to go to college. I said, I don't want to go to college. And she said, you're going to go to college. And then I had an opportunity to go play college, play baseball. So I was like, all right, if I can go play sports, I'll continue to go to school.
Sure.
Went to a junior college, good baseball program, went there for a year, had a lot of fun, then transferred to a 4-year school, which you've never heard of, Eastern Connecticut State University. I had enrolling admission, which means if you applied, you got in. Had a good baseball program, played there for about a year. Still loved cocaine more than I loved baseball. And I just kind of partied my way through college, but I did change my major. I was a business major for about 6 months my freshman year. My second year in college was my freshman year there, my first year there rather. And my issue, Eric, was all the people that were teaching the business courses weren't businessmen and women. Yeah. And so I went to ironically, the advisor I had, she is now a university president in Connecticut. I said, I don't like the program. And she said, why? I said, because none of you are in the field. And she said, well, you know what? Pick an industry or pick a program where that's not true. So I went and became a social work major. So social work major, got done with college, went to the police academy for about 4 months. The problem is police academy is 4.5 months and they threw my ass out. They should have. I was out of control. I was excited. I was violent. I was probably everything you didn't want to have a guy with a gun and handcuffs to be. And then I worked with abused, neglected children for 14 years in the state of Connecticut. And I started my entrepreneurial journey. So that's my upbringing, where I grew up and how it all got started.
Come on, man. Wow, dude, what a journey you've been on, dude. I was the same in high school, lots of acid mushrooms and
Yeah.
played baseball for 12 years, man, and chose
Yeah.
weed over my baseball my senior year, man, and really just stopped playing at that point. And man, a crazy journey. I'm glad that you're at where you're at today, man. I'm 18 plus years sober now myself, and
Congrats, bro. It's a big
thank
deal,
you.
man. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. You launched your life insurance company around 2013, right? You've been extremely successful with that. Like, why did you decide to get into the life insurance side of things? And what was the most unexpected challenge that you ran into in the early days?
Yeah, man. So when I was working for the state of Connecticut, I had a boss, Jim, great
Okay.
guy. And about my 10th year, he pulled me aside, and I had gotten my real estate license as well.
Oh, wow.
And Jim had said to me, "You have to stop meeting with these contractors during your work hours." And I'm like,
Okay.
"But I'm doing it part time." He's like, "I know you got all your work done." He said, "Let me give you some advice. Go chase whatever it is you're chasing, because while you love your job, it's not what you're chasing."
Yeah.
I probably would have remained a social worker, but to be really honest with you, I had new bosses that came in. I was really good at my job.
Mhm.
Like, I had been through shit. I knew how to talk to people. It's hard to bullshit me. And I also had no fear of anything but God. So, like, if you were effed up, I had no problem asking you. If your
Yeah.
husband was a crackhead, I told you kick the fucking crackhead out. You
Sure.
know, if you beat on your kid, I could deal with all that.
Yep.
I had a new boss, and she had never been in the field at all, and started giving me really bad advice and put kids in danger. And I
Wow.
was like, I didn't work here to put kids in danger. Like, I ain't
Mhm.
taking kids out of good homes, putting them into foster homes where they're going to get eaten alive when they can't handle them. I just wouldn't do it. So I probably left that more because of what was happening with the job. I was in the real estate business, did that
Yeah.
full time. In 2008, the market, people say to me, "Oh, the market crashed. That's why you got out of it." Well, the market did decline or crash, but some people stayed in it.
Yeah.
I got out of it because I wasn't prepared for the correction. I
Mhm.
tend to take responsibility for shit I go through too. Like, the market corrected, but a lot of people made more money. I didn't. I was looking for something else. At a guy I owned at that time, I accumulated hundreds of apartment buildings over the years. So I'd done pretty well in real estate while I was working. But I still kept my job. The entire time I kept my job. I loved my
Gotcha.
job. And I don't think it was the security. I just loved my job. Like, I made more money in any individual house than I did working there a year. And June of '08, a guy named Jim, I was buying a property, and he said, "Hey, you should get your insurance license." I said, "Why would I do that? Like, I don't want an insurance license. I have a real
Yeah.
estate license." And he said, "Well, it'd be a great way for you to make extra money." And to be really honest with you, Eric, I was just trying to appease him because I was buying a house from him. So I wanted him to
Okay.
be happy. So I was
Sure.
really like, you know what? If I get the license and he sells me the house, it was a great house, great opportunity for family. I'm like, I'll buy the house. So I got in the course that night, and I was like, this is pretty easy. So I finished that quickly. In about 2 weeks, I had my insurance license. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, but I have it. Like, it's not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
So I said to him, I said, "Who do you guys actually call anyway?" Because real estate, I never had leads. It was all sphere of influence, who I knew. And
Yeah.
he handed me a stack of leads. Like, he's like, "Here's a bunch of people." So I started calling them. And they'd answer. I'd be like, "Hey, Eric." "Yeah, Eric, Sean." I'm like, "Where do we say we're from?" He's like, he told me I said that. I mean, no idea what I was doing. I was like, "Hey, you filled this thing out, bro. I need to come meet with you." And you'd be like, "Well, I don't." I'm like, "Eric, you filled it out, dude. I just got to get the information." And I started booking appointments. He's like, "How'd you know how to do that?" I said, "They filled it out." "What do you mean? What do I just call people and tell them what I'm going to do?" I go to people's houses now that don't even want me there at the state of Connecticut. This is easy.
Yeah.
So I decided, you know what? I'm going to try it for a week or two. I'd done real estate for a while. And I was like, damn, this is easy. And I like it. Like, I really
Mhm.
enjoyed helping people out. And so I worked for another guy for 5 years. I quit my state of Connecticut job after about a year in life insurance, got out of real estate, kept what I had, made it passive, had somebody run it. And then I'm like, I'm going to give this thing a go. I'm really going to give it a run. And for 5 years, I learned a lot about the industry. But I most importantly learned that I didn't like the situation I was in. So I went to the guy that was running the company. I was like, "Hey, bro, you're going to have to renegotiate my deal because I'm like, I allegedly do the best out of everybody here numerically, but I ain't making no real money. Like, I need a different deal. You
Yeah.
don't have to give everybody a different deal, but I need a different deal." And he said yes. And then when I always tell people, a lot of people, I always called it liquid courage. A lot of people got a lot of things to say to you when they're drinking. They wouldn't
Yeah.
say to you when they're sober, and they wouldn't say to you when they're fucking face to face either, but they get on the phone and they're tough.
Yeah,
So
totally.
face to face, he was cool. He calls me a while back, and after, I get home, and he's like, "I'm not going to change any of those things, and don't ask me again." I was like, "All right, cool." So I decided at that moment in time, I'm going to launch my own company. Didn't know what to do, didn't understand how to set it up, but I knew that I wanted to do it differently. So December 12th, 2013, we launched Family First Life, me and a dozen people. First year, I got a contract. I said to the insurance company, how much volume do I need to do? They said, you need to issue 10 million to stay open for us to have a contract. I was like, all right, then 10 million it is. Well, actually, I said to the guy, 10 million by myself or my entire company. He said, you can send 10 million by yourself. I said, if I got to sell it, whatever I got to do, I'll do it.
Yeah.
First year we did 12 million. This past year, on our 10th year, we did about 700 million in paid premium. Our goal next year is $1 billion, 30,000 agents across the country. And I'll tell you real quick, I'll get to the biggest challenge, it was. The biggest challenge early on was I didn't work hard enough to seek people that had the knowledge that I needed. I decided that I had a work ethic, good attitude. I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah. And the information was everywhere. People dying to mentor people in the business. People had been around for a very long time. And I reached out. So I didn't do that early on. I reached out to a guy that's been a phenomenal mentor to me. Yes, what is his net worth? I get it. A billionaire. He's fine. Sure. He's awesome. He's great, dude. That doesn't matter to me. What he's done and how he's changed people's lives. And he said to me, Shawn, you have to run your company with a three-legged stool approach. And I said, all right, well, explain that. And he'd been in the insurance business for years. He said, number one, every decision you make has to be great for the client. And I was like, okay, I can do that. That's easy. Number two, every decision you make has to be great for your agent that works with you. He said, and the last one, which gets a lot of people, is number three, it can't harm the company. So a lot of people go one way. Like they make all decisions for themselves. They're selfish. Everything's about the company. We keep all the money. We don't care about anybody else. We don't care how we sell. And then nobody's loyal to them and they all quit and eventually the company implodes. Or I do everything for everybody else and I make decisions that financially harm the company. With no company, I can't help you anyway. So I never forgot that. So early on, my biggest challenge was not getting the right people around me. And when I realized I needed a great accountant, a great attorney, and definitely somebody great in the compliance side, it changed my entire life. But I just became a lot more vulnerable, a lot more open to going, hey, you know what? I don't know. Yeah. I work hard and smart. I'll figure a lot of things out. I don't know. I need y'all's help. And that was my biggest challenge early on.
Man, it's so important to ask for help and be around the right people. When I spoke with Ed Milet on my podcast, like one of the things he talks about was like, hey, get around people that are living life that you want to live, essentially, right? Like if you're walking around at 75 degrees, go find guys that are walking around at 120, right? So important.
Hey, this is a quick shout out from one of our awesome sponsors. Check this out.
Thank you to Tracy down at Tranquil Turtle Massage in downtown Coeur d'Alene. Look, my wife and I, we see Tracy and her team every single month for a couples massage, and it is the best thing. Tracy is a master massage specialist and a Honu Ashiatsu trainer. You need to reach out to Tracy and her team. Make sure that you tell them that I sent you, and you'll get $25 off your next massage. Also, while you're there, check out CDA Brows, Body, and Ink. Make sure to tell Tracy that I sent you, and you'll save $100 on your next tattoo brows and plasma tightening services. On your entrepreneurial journey since launching your business there, like what was the first big scary thing that you did that got you on the path that you're on today?
Back in the day or with insurance?
With insurance.
I mean, dude, I launched a company December 12th. I got sued first week of January.
Oh
and
my gosh.
I've never really been, you know what I mean? Like I got in a lot of trouble growing up, but it would be like partying, drugs, fighting guys. But I'd never been sued. And I think the funny thing was I got sued in state and federal court in a few different states, actually.
Wow.
And what was weird about it is I didn't give a shit.
Okay.
So it was like 30 of us that got sued. And I think for the first time in my life, I was like, wow, like I genuinely don't give a shit. Like meaning like I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
I work hard. This dude's trying to emotionally paralyze me. And I genuinely don't care.
Yeah.
They handed me 100 and some odd pages. They served me. I didn't have an attorney. I ordered lunch. I called around law firms. Couldn't find anybody to retain for less than $100,000 retainer. They wanted me to agree to some amount of money up front. I launched a company with like $700.
Sure.
Found a law firm out of Alabama. Couple good. I was very upfront with them about what I did or didn't have. I still work with them to this day. They said, well, why should we work with you? I said, number one, I said, I will, if I owe you the money, I will pay you. Here's how I'm going to build a company. Here's why it's going to work. And number two, I will get sued a lot because I'm always going to be aggressive. I'm always going to work hard. So I'm probably going to be your best client you ever had in your life. And we still talked. I talked to him this morning, you know, that was a big, but what I realized is the people around me, it really bothered them. And I was like, damn, like, and then I had to be understanding. It's not like there's minimizing. I'm not ignorant. But
Sure.
if something happens, Erik, and you can't control it, why focus any energy on it?
Right.
All I can do
Yep.
is keep moving. I hire people, I deal with it, and keep going to work. And I realize in America, big people always want to slow small people down. It's the way
Yep.
it works. I got in the waste management business, and I learned that real early on. Like, damn, I didn't think this thing through. Like, where am I going to dump everything? And I'm in this damn business. Somebody asked me the other day, is it really the way people explain it to be? Because people watch all these movies and they talk about organized crime. And I said, well, first of all, let me explain something to you. If the mafia was alive and well, Sammy the Bull would be dead. So, like, he's not. And it's fine. I'm glad he's not. I want everybody to be healthy. But when you're around on that many people and you walk around in public, it's not the way it used to be. But, I mean, let's be honest. But I did realize there was a lot of old school family relationships and the way it was run. And all I know is I dumped all my stuff in an incinerator that everybody in the public could use. And 6 months later, it was burnt to the ground. That's all I know. And then all of a sudden, I had to go to those guys. So I don't know, dude. I don't know if it was a bad episode of Goodfellas or not. But I did learn that I hadn't done the research and I didn't have the in with the people. But all I ever wanted to do when things went bad was learn from it. And I knew all of that. And also, I was never motivated by the money. And a lot of people say that and they're not telling the truth. Like, I'm not. I don't want to be broke. I want to do well by my kids. I want to provide. I want to give back. But it's not the gauge for me. It doesn't spin me up. Like, why most people get messed up when they go through litigation is they think about the money. Yeah. What it's going to cost them. Because most of them aren't. I mean, the attorneys do everything anyway. It's just they're worried about what it's going to cost them. And I'm like, okay, but that money money don't control me. That's why I'm hard to screw with. Money doesn't control me. I want to feed my business and scale it. And every time I focus on doing the right thing and don't focus on money, I make more money anyway. So why would I do that? So early on, that was watching other people go through it and then having to have empathy, because when I was like, dude, why do you care? That didn't work out very well either. So I had this very middle ground of, hey, dude, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's how we're going to move forward. It's funny because one of the things I learned was I would tell them, if you have a question for the attorney, ask me, because every time you talk to them, it costs us so much per hour. And I always gave them the information, but the attorney's good legal advice is to do nothing. I mean, after I got sued, I got a restraining order, a federal restraining order, said I couldn't work anymore. And then my attorney's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, you're going to violate that. Yeah. And then deal with the hearing. Like, we're too far in now, dude. I mean, like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, I actually don't think we'll be in violation. At least we'll be able to explain it to the court. We're not doing anything wrong. Like, we're not doing anything wrong. We're just working, And I realized that for me, it was, it became a crusade. And then I think when you find people that are working hard for other people and working hard for themselves, sometimes, that old mentor say to me, he was my football coach. He said, sometimes you fuck with the wrong guy and he actually goes outside with you and whoops your ass. Totally. Everybody's ready to go outside till it's time to actually go outside. So I learned a lot though. I learned a lot about case law and litigation and tried to stay focused in the business, but it made me grow up as a businessman really fast.
Sure. Oh man. So crazy, man. I want to talk about your awesome podcast, dude. It's called Punch Me in the Face. If I was doing my research right, it looked like you launched just in January of this year, 2023. Yeah. Love the name. People need to be listening to the show. It's so good. For those who don't know about your show, like, what's your show focus on? Like, why did you decide to start the podcast?
Well, first of all, thanks for that, man. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your platform. And, I get a lot of people ask if I will jump on something. I watched about 9 minutes of what you do. And I was like, dude, I'll definitely do that. He's great. So I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate your journey. Man, I'll be really straight up, brutally honest with you. I never could find the right information online. And I couldn't disseminate between fact and fiction. And that was hard for me. So I ended up finding just people in my industry that were successful, right? Like, and when I see the success they have, like, I look how big most of the people you're going to talk to in the insurance business have never thought about doing anything that's $1 billion a year. And a lot of them have a lot bigger names than I do. And that's okay. Like, that's not what I want to do it for. But I started looking at the podcast. And I'm like, listen, I have information to offer. I've made a ton of mistakes. I've learned a lot about business. I want to share everything I know. Like, I have nothing to not share. Like, here's all these things. Because if people succeed in other industries, I'm excited. If your podcast does better, that's awesome. Like, there's a lot of room for all of us to win. And this whole scarcity mindset freaked me out. So there's people that they've let me on their podcast. Then I'm like, hey, and they're like, you can't get back on. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, well, you're like my subscribers. I'm like, first of all, dude, you're not even that good. That's not my fault. Second of all, I'm not that good. So relax, but calm down. Your insecurity's freaking me out. So I really was more by accident. I had a guy say, you should do it. And then I was going to call it a different name. And then a buddy of mine who I do some work with was like, dude, why don't you call it Punch Me in the Face? Like everything you talk about is getting whacked in the face, getting back up. None of it's super polished or super, oh my God. It's just, if you'll just keep freaking grinding, then you're going to win. And if you can keep that just, I was in church this past Sunday, and Pastor Scott said, he was talking about getting out of Egypt, going to the promised land. And I ain't no pastor. I'm just trying to do better every day. Try to get myself to the promised land. That's all I'm trying to do. But he talked about three things. I'm not going to preach to you. But the last thing he talked about why the journey went from 30 days to 40 years was God couldn't stand the grumbling. The Lord was so just put off by the complaining, the venting. And I realized if I could just help people get perspective. So, I had a guy on the podcast the other day. I worked with him 15 years ago. And I said, tell me something you remember from 15 years ago. He said, I called you up one day. I talked about my financial situation. I went on and on and on. He said, you listened to me for about 5 minutes. And you said, are you dying of cancer? And he goes, no, of course I'm not. And then I said, well, then shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Go to work. Because here's the other thing. I don't know everything, but I was never, when people told me all these things I was supposed to be afraid of when I was younger, the one thing that I heard from enough adults was, if you complain about something that's not worth complaining about, be careful. God might actually give you something legitimately to complain about. And I was like, all right, I'm good, dude. Like, wait a minute. That means if I'm going to like sit around and whine because of traffic or something didn't show up on time or, I'm not going out that way. So I think the podcast is really, it's empowering. And also it's got a big sales approach to an entrepreneurship that's worked really well for me. I've been very good in sales everywhere I've went. I don't think it's because I'm act like some crazy good salesman. I don't have cute techniques to teach you. I don't say stuff like, I'm going to teach somebody to snow cones to Eskimos and catch up to what. That's just dumb. I don't want to do any of that. But I teach people the psychology of what people think. My undergraduate degrees in psychology, my master degree is criminal justice and psychology. I enjoyed it. I love people. I want to see them win. I want to see them grow. And honestly, I was just a lot of the stories I was tired of. It's like everybody wants to have the same story, except they're making it up a lot. Man, I just had my father on a podcast. I hadn't talked to my father in for years. And I reached out to him like 3 years ago. We hadn't talked at all. And I had him on a podcast now twice since, which is weird because I never know what it's going to say. Like he could say something mortifying. Like I don't give a shit, but I just don't have any idea what he's going to say.
Sure.
And but it's just cool because that's kind of brought that part of my life too. And talking to people about that, like how many men are out there because we're stubborn. They got a father, every man and every son. Do you have children?
Yeah. 14 and 10, man.
14, 10. Are boys or girls?
Oldest is a girl, youngest is a son.
Okay. So good news about your son. You'll go through 3 phases. Every father and son.
Yep.
First phase is he's going to idolize you. It's probably where he is now.
Yeah.
Then he's going to demonize you. Then he will humanize you again. You're his idol because he doesn't know any better. Then all of a sudden you're demonic right. Because like anything you say is wrong. Then it'd be like, my dad's just a human being. My dad's not a superhero. So it's really, and I heard that one day from a guy and I was like, dude, that's so true. And then I started listening to other people and researching. I'm like, God, my son's 20, but you just watch when you go through that. So I think that just to give people like, the internet and social media, they're dangerous places to be because I know a lot of these people. You know what I mean? A lot of the people out there, they don't have what they say they have. And I went on one recently where the guy asked about all these people. He never put it out, which I would have been fine if he did. But he's like, what do you think about this guy? And I was just honest about all of it. Like and I'm not doing it to hate on anybody, but I want to be honest. Like if this guy makes money in real estate by taking your money, I'm going to tell you.
Yep.
If that's what he does and there's a fund and he gives you a tiny bit of money on your money, he's not helping you. He's just stealing your money. Like, I'm okay saying that. You know what I mean? And I think that there's so many people out there looking for something. And I know I was dying for mentorship and I found it in some of the wrong places. I spent some money on some of the classes and courses and I spent 10 grand to go to meetings that didn't. And then I found people that I ingratiated myself to through my hard work and my willingness to learn and shut my mouth. And those were free. It was just my time. And then I realized they really wanted to do it. So that's what Punch Me in the Face came in, man. I wrote a book because it's like, why not? And I feel real good about that. We're working on some other stuff. I did a show called The Millionaire Maker, which we did just to play around, put on YouTube. And then like, we're meeting with a lot of people about that. That worked out a lot better than I thought it would. So it's, and I think part of it is just doing the work.
Yeah.
Like for me, you're trying to build your brand. Erik, you have a good following. It's going to be better. You're a good dude. You ask good questions. You're intentional. Like your attitude's right. But dude, more people you connect with. Somebody said to me, how do I start? I said, get on everything you can.
Yeah.
Just get on everything you can, dude. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
all you can do is get on every single thing you can and see what happens. You're going to put stuff out and, it's like YouTube, we're finally like, you're seeing the traction, but it's a grind, dude. And
yeah,
knowing your numbers. If people don't watch it, they don't interact, they don't like it.
Right.
And that's hard sometimes. And then you're kind of shifting gears. And I was talking to a guy yesterday, we're doing a meeting, and every week we get together and I'm like, give me all the stuff that's not working.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to like, what's not working? And they're like, well, the shorts are great and this happened. But then, and I'm like, dude, but I'd rather talk about it for 3-4 minutes and y'all edit it than me try to stay in that. Like, I just know where I'm good and where I'm not. And I spend a lot of time working on where I'm not good. And I think the whole punch me in the face strategy is that's what life's about.
Yeah.
But most of the people I see find the one thing they're good at. They want to live in that because it's safe. Nobody tell them anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong ever. They're not messed up. They're a perfectionist. They have no issues at all. And I just kind of want to go through life like a big old train wreck trying to get better every day. And then, be an imperfect person helping a bunch of imperfect people.
Yeah. Oh, so good, dude. Yeah. I mean, I when I started podcasting in 2017, I had no idea what I was doing. I was in a walk-in closet, man, and bad microphone, bad lighting. And, I was asking MMA fighters, why the heck do you want to get punched in the face? Like that was my only, like I started MMA podcast when I first started. And, it's been such a journey and awesome relationships have come out of it. Trips have come out of it, like partnerships, collaborations. And I love connecting with people. And so podcasting, man, it's such a great way to connect with people and have great conversations with folks like yourself, man. And man, Shawn, you're an absolute world changer, man. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, man. I really appreciate you.
Dude, I'll tell you what, I'll leave you because you said the MMA thing. I have a buddy of mine who lives 10 minutes from me named Charles Rosa. He's a UFC guy, been around a long time. Big dude, stud, great career. And I just went and watched him fight in Connecticut. And they have all these other MMA groups. Like Sean Merriman's a great friend of mine, Lights Out Extreme, unbelievable, great dude. And I said, Charles, what's the difference between the UFC and all? Because when I watch him, Charles, these guys are all really talented.
Mm-hmm.
And like all of them. And he said, I'll tell you what. He's like, and he's fought all over the world. And you look him up if you don't know him. He's great. Boston Strong, Charles Rosa. Great guy to have on your show, by the way. He would do it. He's awesome. Nice. And he said the difference is when you go to these other deals and look at the percentage of people that tap out. Like they're very talented. They're badass fighters. But them dudes in the UFC, they will die. Like they literally will, most of them lose their life in that ring. Like they're willing to lose it.
Yep.
He's like, so they don't tap, watch the percentage. And I went, everything I went, like tap, tap, tap. UFC, these guys are breaking arms, snapping shit, ripping stuff off, and they're still fighting. And I think in life, we don't have to do that. But what if we just got ourselves here where we endured more than the average person?
Mm-hmm.
We said, you know what? The average guy and girl can endure this. Let's endure this. The average guy and girl needs to sleep this much. I can get away with this. They need this much of a break. They can only overcome this much adversity. So I love what you're doing, man. I love your message, and I love you letting me get on, bro. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for checking out the show today. I really appreciate it. I hope that my guest was able to bring you some amazing wisdom and knowledge to help you continue to fight for your goals, your dreams, and your purpose. If you could do me one big favor and just hit that subscribe button, I would so appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Keep changing the world. I believe in you. Have an amazing day.